Good evening, grave robbers, and welcome back to the television graveyard. We are your TV necromancers, Lara Prince and Noah Houlihan. We've come here tonight to examine the spirits of past television shows to find out which ones could be resurrected, should be resurrected, and which ones should stay doomed. This is a podcast in which we'll analyze the history, the hype, and the aftermath of shows that ran only one season or only one episode. With me, as always, is TV's Noah Houlihan.
It's a whole new, totally rad day.
We are... That's actually a fairly good Steve-O.
Thank you.
Oh, that's actually a really good Steve-O. Today we are doing Camp Steve-O.
Yes.
A 2006 one-episode wonder.
Yes. That was clearly meant to be a full series.
Yes.
But we are trying to figure out what to do with these Jackass guys now that Jackass is over.
Yes.
And we're trying to give Steve-O his own show, Camp Steve-O. The basic premise is a bunch of kids are signing up their parents to be part of Camp Steve-O, so Steve-O can help them be cool parents and more understanding parents.
Yeah, it was to kind of help teenagers and their parents understand each other and find middle ground.
Yes. So the opening theme. I need to clarify something. I assume this is an MTV show.
I have not been able to find where this show was supposed to be.
I assume MTV just based off of the insane amount of music in this.
Yes, I could see that.
There's a good chance that there is limited clips in this episode because every clip I'd want to play has Green Day playing in the background.
Yes.
Which makes it very difficult for me to keep on YouTube. So, apologies ahead of time. I've noticed that I want to say 80% of the time when I say there won't be clips, there's still clips. So, who knows?
This is a really interesting one because only one episode was ever made fully, but there's footage from more.
Yes.
So we open with Steve-O ziplining in on a burlap sack.
Yes. Camp stuff.
Yeah, just like a zip line or whatever. We then meet these parents and their kids in a cutaway.
Yeah, and basically the idea is the kid's kind of like, hi, I'm my name and I'm this old and I'm bringing my parent to Camp Steve-O because they always do X. And then we see them in their home where X is happening.
Yes.
So the first one we get is Judge Tim.
Yes, Judge Tim and his daughter Caitlin.
And Caitlin's like, my dad is too rough on me. And then it cuts to them at the dinner table.
I got an A on my math test.
What was the score?
A 95.
Okay, why wasn't it 100?
Because that's the best I could do.
By any grading scale, a 95 is an A.
Mm-hmm.
Most places do not have an A+.
Right.
So that's a 4.0 in any scale.
Yeah. This is there's definitely a lot of vamping, I think, in this.
Yeah.
But, so that was one of the introductions. Another very interesting introduction is the one mom, I forget her name, I want to say it's Teresa, but I think it's just because she reminds me of Teresa from Real Housewives.
Are you talking about the realtor?
I believe so.
The one who,
The more difficult one?
Yes, that's Julie. She's a
Julie.
realtor.
So, this is the worst introduction I've ever seen. Julie is talking to her son and says, let me smell your hands. She smells his hands and goes, you have cologne on your hands. And he's like, yeah? And it's like, well, you have cologne on your hands because you're trying to cover up that you've been smoking. And he's like, Mom, you're being crazy. I just have cologne on my hands. She's like, really? Let me check your car. And then they follow her and they check her car and she finds cigarettes. So she is objectively correct. And I don't know if this is me just becoming an old man, but I thought the idea was, oh, my mom's so strict. She's constantly yelling at me for smoking and I'm not.
Yeah.
But it's actually, my mom's so strict, she won't let me smoke. And, at that age, I could see people feeling that way. Like, I could feel like kids having that feeling towards their parents. Oh, just let me smoke. So we get introduced to all of the parents. Do you have all the parents' names by chance?
I do. We have Judge Tim.
Right.
We have Dinah, who is a librarian, who is a neat freak.
Okay.
That's really her only crime.
Yeah.
Brian, who is like he's a distributor of some sort. I think he's a liquor distributor.
Yes.
And he has 2 sons, and his sons are like, you make a new rule every day. And he's like, that's 365 new rules a year.
It seems to me, out of all of them, Brian's the cool dad who came up with a scheme with their son to get on MTV.
Yeah, because
he seems rad the whole time.
And then Barry, who I keep forgetting exists. He's a computer programmer who hates his scene kid son, Andrew, who's like, no, I like death metal. And I'm like, that's scene kid.
Yeah.
And then Steve-O spray paints all of their initials on their clothing.
Yeah, so he can remember them.
And Julie tries to physically fight him, but doesn't succeed. And he goes, you guys aren't that bad. I didn't even get kicked in the nuts. And then he lets Brian run up and kick him in the nuts.
Kick him in the nuts.
And we get the first of many reaction shots from Judge Tim, who hates his life and everything he has chosen to be.
Yes. How they got him here, I don't know.
So the parents come with Steve-O and they leave their bags with the kids. And Steve-O has them practice breathing techniques and yoga while he goes off with the kids for a few minutes.
Yeah, like he basically tricks all the parents to silently close their eyes for a bit so that he can take all their bags, take their clothes, and throw them into a wood chipper.
Yes. And then I do have a note here of, oh good, they use a stick to put things in the wood chipper. Safety first.
Safety, yeah, safety's important. I also have a note here, we might have went past it, where he's talking to one of the kids, and he's like, what's the problem with your dad? He's like, oh, he won't let me be me, he's always, barging in when I'm with my girlfriend. And Steve-O goes,
Did you nail her?
Did I? Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
so there's no problem there.
Yeah, but I got in trouble for that too. So.
See, now that is a problem.
Yeah, there's a couple moments where he's talking to the kids, and he's definitely coming off as a cool older brother.
Yeah.
To them. So they repack their bags without the clothing shrapnel. The kids hug their parents goodbye as they give their luggage back without a word. And Julie is yelling at her son's retreating back, instructions for what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Call my assistant.
So yeah, it's very interesting, and I want to bring up at this point, there is not a talking head to be found.
No.
There's no, through line or structure. There's no, talking head of Steve-O being like, these parents better get in shape or else they're going to fail. The Steve-O way. None of that. And, I think it's just interesting just because we just watched New York Goes to Work.
Yeah.
And how much work they put into a through line in that there was constantly, here's the checklist of things that need to be done. Here's a cartoon of New York, transitioning and stuff like that.
There was a lot of post in that show.
And thinking back to Jackass, there are no talking heads in Jackass. There's no I was really scared about being put into the porta potty connected to the bungee cords. That never happens. But every Jackass stunt starts with, hi, my name is X and I'm Y.
Yeah.
And the lack of that bit of structure is really harmful to this show.
Hi, my name is Poopies, and I'll show me.
Oh, show me.
But the adults go into the cabin. The cabin's pretty fun, actually. It's like a swanky version of the 13 Fears Real cabin.
Yeah. And there's graffiti on the walls that say yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's The adults discover their destroyed clothing. And did you catch Tim's reaction?
No.
He cracks a smile.
Oh.
He's kind of like, of course you did. Like, kind of this like, what was it? Well, I should have seen this coming. Julie loses it.
Yes, she flips out that her clothes has been destroyed. There's also a little detail in here that I don't put together until later.
Okay.
Julie immediately jumps into this, like, really big bed.
Yes.
While there are cots all around.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, this is to create dissent amongst the parents in that there's only one good bed and the rest of the beds suck. No, that's Steve-O's bed.
Yup.
They're all going to be sleeping in the same room together?
Yes.
Like, not even Bret Michaels did that.
And we get my dear friend. It is the farm team for the B-roll Gators.
Oh, yeah?
B-roll bunny.
The B-roll bunny goes by. A hippin' and a hoppin'.
And so Steve-O brings out lunch and sandwich stuff. And they're just chit-chatting. And I realize it must be very cold where they're filming.
Yes, despite being a camp show.
Everyone's kind of bundled up in a way. So I realize, I'm like, oh, this is an off-season summer camp.
Yeah.
Like, they're filming in winter. It's probably, California winter or southern winter. But it's still chilly.
Yes. So, yeah, it's pretty cold, and they have sandwiches and kind of have some light banter about, like, oh, you're doing this for the kids and all this other stuff. And Steve-O's like, oh, you guys need to have dessert.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, dessert at lunch? That's
which
crazy.
Tells you how square they are. Because, like, school lunch has dessert.
Yeah.
Like, do you not give your kids a cookie in their lunch? I'm not saying, like, lunch has full-on, like, Bananas Foster. But I got, like, a cookie in my lunch.
Yeah. He brings out a bunch of trays of lines of different desserts. So
Yes.
a line of sprinkles or jimmies, a line of chocolate sauce, a line of strawberry sauce, a line of whipped cream, and like a pile of ice cream, which I guess is supposed to be the Scarface pile of cocaine. And he's like, well, if you really love your kids, you'll snort dessert. And he takes a little straw out and he snorts a bunch of sprinkles up into his brain.
Yep.
And all the parents are like, this is going to help me be a better parent. And Steve's response is, how can you be a better parent if you won't even snort ice cream? And wouldn't you know it? They all start snorting the desserts.
So, not all.
Not all, but like it goes very quickly from this idiot is bringing out desserts and they want to put it in our nose to
Well, Steve also graphically throws up.
yeah, Steve.
Which we don't see any of the other parents do.
Yeah.
Tim is miserable. Julie wants to die. Brian has done this before.
Oh, Julie does it at one point and is like very clearly has.
Well,
these are all children of the 80s and
like,
the 70s.
They're all complaining. Brian and Dinah just kind of do it. Julie complains but does it and looks at the camera and goes, don't do this at home, Sean.
Yeah.
And does it. And then was Julie a young woman during the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, all of these adults, like, just, you've snorted
Like,
something.
I could totally see Julie being like, I'm only doing this because I want a better relationship with my son. Pulls out private mirror. Pulls out own straw. Oh, where'd you get powdered sugar?
Yeah, like, these were very, like, because I'm going to tell a little story about my past.
Oh, okay.
So I had a friend, we were all eating, like, candy at lunch, because we had dessert with our lunch.
Madness.
Which was normal.
That's so odd.
But it was, like, the sugar that settles to the bottom of a bag of candy, of sour candy, specifically.
Oh, okay, that's different.
So sour, I want to say it was Sour Patch Kids, might have been Sour Skittles, something of that nature. Mm-hmm. And so our friend decides he is going to, in fact, snort it.
Oh, the natural order and things to do.
And let me tell you, his reaction to snorting that sugar does not look anything like these parents. Mm-hmm. Like, he teared up, he didn't throw up, but he, like, cried.
Yeah.
And, like, didn't handle it well. What I'm saying is that's what it looks like when someone inexperienced would be doing it. So
Gotcha.
These parents seem like they might have had some experience.
Yes. And then, what might be the best line of this show, everyone is doing this but Tim.
Yeah.
And Steve-O's like...
So what's the issue here, Tim?
The obvious drug reference?
Oh, the obvious drug
The
reference,
fact that I don't...
And, but Tim, for non-compliance, gets Caitlin called on him.
Yes.
That's the punishment, is they call your child on you.
That's the moment that unlocks the show for me. Is if you don't succeed, Steve-O tells on you.
I think it's if you don't try.
Right.
Because I think if, like, somebody had attempted and thrown up, I don't think Steve-O would have been calling their kids on them.
Of course.
So he just says if they don't try.
Yeah.
So Caitlin asks Tim to be open-minded and hear Steve out. And then we cut to the next stunt.
Well, it's very important that Caitlin is like, whatever the next thing is, you have to try.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, whatever it is, I'll try. So, the next stunt, everyone is given a large mirror. And I thought they're going to do actual cocaine now. But no. Steve-O is going to break down superstitions.
Yes.
So he breaks his mirror. And then he's like, yes, you're not supposed to do that, but I did, but nothing bad happened. You're also not supposed to walk on broken glass. And then he walks across the mirror shards. And he goes, yeah, but nothing bad happened there either.
Yeah, I did wonder what this mirror was made out of.
Probably mirror.
He doesn't... No one seems to get cut, though. Nobody shows obvious pain.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of my circus knowledge. You're walking on flat glass. Mm-hmm. You're not walking on, like, bottle glass. Bottle glass is rounded, and thus all the sharp parts are pointing up, while mirror glass is flat, and thus the sharp parts are not where you're applying pressure to your feet. So, that's part of it. But also, you are having someone who's known for being a jackass telling you, break a mirror and then walk on it in your bare feet. And Tim's like, this is going to make me a better father. And Steve-O's like, yeah, dude. And he's like, okay. And he throws his mirror and breaks it and walks across it and gives Steve-O a hug. And I was like, oh, well, okay then.
Brian then does it with no drama and dances on the shards.
Yeah, because Brian's a rad dude who conned MTV onto being on this show.
I have a note. Brian might not deserve to be here.
I almost suspect that we will post this episode.
And Brian's going to come out of the woodwork.
And Brian will reach out to us like, yo, I was on that. You're talking about it?
You just made it sound like Brian is Steve-O in a wig.
He's a lesser Steve-O.
So, then there's a nice little sequence where the parents start to plot pranks against Steve-O, but they're lame, and they show how little they know about Steve-O.
Yeah.
Because none of these are going to affect Steve-O. None of the pranks they discuss would even make... They're a Tuesday at work for Steve-O.
But I believe it's Brian as the ringleader is like... We're at camp. It's in the spirit of camp to do pranks, right? And then they kind of like... They're just kind of setting up the idea because they'll figure out stuff later. So the next event that they need to do is... Steve-O is standing next to a big tank of goldfish.
Yeah.
And he's like, some of these fish are scoundrels and should not be around these other fish. So you got to save them. You got to get
Your
them.
kids are falling in with a bad crowd. Some of these fish are bad guys.
So you got to get your fish out of there into this bowl as safely as possible. There's only one way to do that. And he starts bobbing for goldfish. And fails. It should be very noted that they fail. That Steve-O is unable to do this. And then the parents are like, you can't do it. How are we supposed to be able to do this? And then they just do it.
Yeah.
This, like, again, is where talking heads would be great.
Yes.
Like, of hearing the parents be like, I don't want to do this. This is crazy. I don't have a gross goldfish in my mouth. And Brian been like, I did this in college. Woo! And, like, just a few of them were successful. And Steve-O's like, good job. I was fully expecting Steve-O to do the goldfish trick. You're familiar with the goldfish trick?
No.
He did this, I believe, on the pilot episode of Jackass, where he swallows a goldfish.
Oh, no.
And then throws it back up. And it lives. He, like, keeps it. He does the David Blaine trick.
Oh.
So I was fully expecting that to happen, because he's like, oh no, I accidentally swallowed mine. But no, that doesn't take part.
I don't think I'd ever heard it referred to as the goldfish trick.
I believe that, yeah, you know what? It is the very first time Steve-O's on camera. Because when in the intro, it's, hi, my name is Johnny Knoxville, and this is Steve-O. And he's about to do the goldfish trick. Because it was when Steve-O was too shy to do his own intros.
Aww.
Look how far he's come.
So, after this, we get the parents eating dinner. And they start to ask about sleep arrangements. And that's when Julie demands the bed and they start negotiating the blankets. And that's when they find out the bed is Steve-O's. Mm-hmm. And that Julie cannot sleep in the bed.
No, Steve-O actually says, you can sleep in my bed if you want. And she's like, no.
Because I think he's saying the implication is, I will also be in the bed.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think he meant anything untoward.
No.
I think it was just more of like, I don't get the impression that at this point in his life, Steve-O was a fussy man about sleeping.
No.
So they roast marshmallows. We lose audio for a little bit because of the copywritten music.
Yeah, I assume that a copywritten song hit the YouTube channel that uploaded this and muted this part. But at this point, I do want to mention that it seems like all the parents are having a good time.
Yes.
Like, they're not leading a rebellion or anything about that. They seem to be having a good time. So we do miss a chunk of this. And then someone offers to give Steve-O a massage.
Yep.
But not just any massage, a scalp massage.
Yep.
And pranks ahoy, they're using Nair.
Yep.
So a bunch of Steve-O's hair falls out, and for the rest of this episode, he has like a cheetah cut, where you got spots everywhere.
Yeah, but this is what I mean about, like, this is just a Thursday for him. Like, oh no, my hair getting all messed up? Meh. Like,
Yeah.
this is not even a bad day for Steve-O.
No, not at all.
For work.
The next...
He laughs it off immediately.
yeah, he laughs it off immediately. He's having a good time. Julie sleeps outside in the not in the cabin, on the ground.
Dinah is also, like, low-key flirting with Steve-O.
Yeah, I mean, she does offer to give him the massage.
Yeah.
So she's touching Steve-O.
But she's, like, kind of flirting with him. Which is, like...
I'm your new dad.
Could you imagine? That's how the show ended? Oh, my God. Julie does sleep outside, and there's a moment that you catch about Julie outside.
I don't think I wrote it.
Production offers her something.
No, I don't have this. Oh, right. So there's this weird moment where Steve-O offers Julie a cigarette. And she says, I'll have a cigarette, but not on TV. And like she grabs a cigarette and walks out of shot. And then there's like a faraway shot of her smoking. So it's very much a moment that's supposed to catch her in her hypocrisy, because she's the one that's trying so hard to stop her son from smoking, but she smokes. Which, if she's that addicted to smoking, she probably knows how hard it is to be a smoker, and that's why she's so hard on him, being a good mom.
Yeah, it does. This is one of those things that I think, had she been trying and been compassionate, would have never made the edit.
Yeah, this makes her a great reality show villain, for
She's
sure.
definitely the villain of the show. So they're like, breakfast is ready, and then Steve-O is dressed like a chicken.
Yes, and he's in like a nest of hay.
Yep.
And they're going to eat worms.
Tim chews his. And
Tim
that's
chews
disturbing.
his, yeah. Steve-O swallows his like they're pills. Like he has like a bottle of water and swallows it whole. Very strange, this, because everything's kind of had this weird kind of lesson. Like the mirror thing was about like, don't believe in superstitions. And the fish thing was about like removing your kids from unsafe situations. I don't know what eat a worm is supposed to be. The other thing I want to bring up is Steve-O's knuckle tattoos.
Yes.
His knuckle tattoos just say shit and the F word.
Yep.
There was another show that Steve-O had called Dr. Steve-O that aired on USA. It aired after, I think, Raw. That's why I know of it.
Yes. Dr. Steve-O comes out later the year this comes out. Dr. Steve-O is essentially derived out of this concept.
Oh, that makes sense.
I was just saving that.
Oh, well, sorry to ruin the research
I
department.
got more.
But in Dr. Steve-O, he wears Band-Aids over his knuckles that say something else. I forget what it was. So they didn't have to constantly blur his hands.
Yeah.
Since this is just a pilot not meant for air that we're watching, they don't bother to do that. But if this show continued, that would be a constant issue for this show. I believe Steve-O has had those tattoos removed.
I believe he has.
Because he can't be on camera.
It's hard to work.
This is where I start to...
Dinah also just does it. Like, Dinah is so low drama through this whole thing. She just eats the worm and is just like,
Yeah.
It was striking to me how little drama she brought to the table on that.
This is also where I start to believe that what we're watching is unfinished.
Yes.
Because this whole, like, end sequence, there's no music.
Yes.
And it makes me think, like, they just didn't get around to adding it. Which also makes me think they would have done talking heads.
Maybe.
Because I don't know who Dinah is at all.
Dinah, at least we see a little. Barry, we see almost none of.
Yeah, Barry I see nothing of. And, like, having them have a talking head where they're like, I don't want to do this, but then I did it, would at least add some character to these people.
For sure. The next thing they get, Julia refuses to do this too, they get Steve-O Speedos.
Yes, because they're going to do rad calisthenics.
All the parents initially are like, ow. And then Brian's just like, fine. But they have robes, which we don't see initially.
Yes.
They do have robes to go over it. Everyone gives Julia a really hard time for not doing hers.
Yes, I really like this, though. Because what happens is, they're like, Julie, you gotta wear the bikini, you gotta wear the bikini. And she's like, no, I'm not doing it, I'm going home. And she storms out and she's like, I'm done with this. I'm leaving. I'm going home. And all the parents are immediately like, oh, we can't let her leave. Come on, we gotta convince her to stay. Steve-O's here to help us. And, like, seeing that camaraderie is very interesting and very, like, good television.
Yes.
We, unfortunately, will not get to see what they're going to do in those bikinis, because that was going to be next time on Camp Steve-O.
Yeah, because we do see like a next time with a couple of shots.
Yes.
Implying that it is the same parents for the entire season, which is cool.
Yes, which is a huge question I had throughout this whole thing is it Steve-O torturing different parents every week, or are we actually going to get to know these people? Because at the time, we were heading into, I don't know if these were like big shows yet, but on MTV we were heading into like The Room Raiders, Date My Mom, Blind Date era of MTV reality. Next, where it was just like, here's some new people. They're all terrible, but they're only here for an episode. Goodbye. Here's some new awful people.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, is this going to be another like disposable people where it's like Steve-O is crazy, deals with these disposable awful people, heartfelt moment, on to the next family. Because I believe Dr. Steve-O was also like new people every episode. So the fact that it was going to be like this continuing journey with these folks, very interesting. And in the commentary, or not the comment, in the teaser for next week's episode, we see them doing a little bit of calisthenics, and they're in their bikinis, and one of the dads just tackles the hell out of Steve-O.
Yes.
And it's awesome.
I think it's Brian.
That's a good guess.
So, this show had a little bit of a different start.
Okay.
So, this was filmed in Florida. And the original concept of this was Jackass with teenagers.
Okay.
The kids were more involved.
Okay.
And someone on Lost Media posted 4 years ago about not being able to find a pilot they were on.
Okay.
And it was like the best and brightest students from a certain class were on this.
All right.
And then they talk about USA picking up a similar show. Very interesting. They have like, the ketchup and mustard slip and slide. So this is somewhere in like 2004, early 2005. And it's later retooled into this version.
Okay.
And then it becomes more of the lame parents thing that we see. And then that's going to evolve into Dr. Steve-O.
Okay. Interesting. That makes sense. Because to me, I've had this dream idea for a show for a while of Celebrity Jackass, where the idea was you take the, lesser Jackass guys, like your Pontius and your Aaron McGeehee.
Yeah, I was going to say Danger Aaron Dave.
Danger Aaron Dave. Maybe some of the lesser BAM crew even. Like, not like Novak and I always forget the guy who does the impressions. Kahlo, I think. And each one of them gets paired with a celebrity to try to be the best jackass, to kind of make them into jackasses. And then they're judged by Knoxville, Steve-O, and probably like Wee Man. And it's like Dancing with the Stars, but it's Jackass. That was my dream. This kind of felt like this, where it's like, I'm Steve-O, I'm a jackass, I'm going to make you do my things.
Yeah.
And the frame of it being a camp for parents, I honestly think, is brilliant. Because if I was trying to think, like, what are going to be the actual lessons the parents are going to learn from this?
Right.
And how often does a kid get told to do something that they think is stupid, that they don't understand, that they don't want to do? And when they're asked for a reason are told, because I say so.
Yeah.
Very often. And if that was the end of this show, was Steve-O saying, like, you now know how frustrating it is when you are telling your kid, like, you have to do this, and not properly explaining why it's important.
I mean, in the episodes we don't get to see, it also looks like there's some bonding.
Yeah, it does look like the kids come back. I think there's like a talent show at some point.
There's also a part where, like, Caitlin is belaying for Tim.
Oh, yeah, they do like a ropes course.
A trust-building exercise.
Yeah.
I really felt like they were, going to start moving in that direction.
Yeah, I love this show. I think it's great. I think it was unfinished.
Yes.
Like, I have a lot of problems with it, and, like, they're all fixable. And that sounds like I'm heading towards a game over rule, where it's like, it could work if you did X, Y, and Z, but in its current form, it's a stay doomed. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is, I don't think this show was finished. I don't think
agree.
the product we watched was the completed version of this.
I agree. I think there would have been things added, because it was also an odd amount of time. It was like 34 minutes, which is a very weird amount of time for a pilot, which makes me think it was running about 10 minutes short. That would have been interstitials, talking heads, etc.
Yeah, that would have been a nice hour show.
So, I don't think this falls into the game over rule.
Yeah, I think this is just a straight stay tuned.
Stay tuned. This seemed fun.
I loved this. I thought this was great. I think this was a great use of Steve-O after Jackass. Where does this fall in the timeline? You said this was like late or early 2000s, right?
This is 2006, so it is before the Jackass 24-hour takeover.
That's important information.
Yeah, this is before Nitro Circus, but after Wild Boys.
After Wild Boys. That's what I thought this was. The Jackass 24-hour takeover is something that has been on the docket for Stadium for a while, just because we love Jackass. But 24 hours of something is hard to find time to watch.
Yes.
That is like one of the final dominoes that needs to fall before Steve-O goes to rehab.
Yes.
So this is like right before Steve-O's at his most insane.
Yeah.
And like, he seems pretty put together in this. Like, he's not a maniac.
I could absolutely see him not feeling good about the idea of doing drugs around kids. Mm-hmm. Like, I could see that being the line for him.
Yeah. But the kids aren't there for most of it.
Yeah, but I could also see, like, you're around parents.
Yeah.
And the idea of, like, this was a pilot. He probably only really needed to be sober for about 24 hours.
That's true. But that's going to do it for this. It's a stay tuned from both of us. Greatly enjoyed this show.
Yeah, this one was fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah. I just realized I don't know what we're doing next week.
No, we don't.
Around my mouth.
No, we did not figure out what we're doing next week, so that'll be a surprise for everyone, including us.
Mostly us.
I've been looking through the lost media hole, because it's been a while since we've done one of those, so maybe something in that department, maybe not.
Ooh.
Only time will tell. But if you have a suggestion, you can always hit us up on our Discord. You can find that in the links below. You can talk to us and other fans about all things Stay Doomed and wrestling. We talk about wrestling quite a bit. But if you don't want to do that, where else can people find us?
You can email us at thestaydoomedshow@gmail.com or on Blue Sky at Stay Doomed.
And if you, for some real reason, just really love all forms of Jackass entertainment, I'm at TV's Noah on Blue Sky and Instagram.
I was going to say, if you're interested in us doing Dr. Steve-O and we're able to find it, I'm Laura Crane on Blue Sky. Until next time, stay doomed.